Welcome to episode 8 of Wisdom by Heart. And if you haven't watched the previous 7 episodes, I encourage you to find the link below this video and watch them all. My name's Aliki, and I have the challenging job of creating these videos in public places, trying to avoid dog walkers, young children on their summer break, overhead planes, power tools, loud sirens, church bells and flies trying to interfere with my filming process. But I will not be deterred, because making these videos for you is my calling and my absolute pleasure. This week's wisdom quote is by a Jesuit priest called Anthony de Mello. You have been programmed from birth to be dissatisfied with yourself. You have been programmed from birth to be dissatisfied with yourself. You and I have been programmed from birth to be dissatisfied with ourselves. Dissatisfaction. You can find it everywhere. It's so common. And it's interesting, isn't it, how we consider it to be normal. In fact, a common answer to the greeting, "How are you?" in this country is, "Not too bad." Not too bad. This is a very common standard and very widely accepted. It doesn't take a genius to realize, when you look at the messages that we're being fed through media, the most common narrative is not enough. Not good enough, not beautiful enough, not fit enough, not wealthy enough, not clever enough. In a nutshell, not everything enough. Message after message to convince you you mustn't be content with the way things are. In fact, I challenge you, next time you're scrolling, pay attention to all the messages of you not being enough. And we buy into it, don't we? We totally buy into it, because that's what we've learned to do. We've been programmed to be dissatisfied, to always want more and more and more. And yet, no matter how much more we get of anything, it still never seems to be enough, does it? Interesting that. And so we walk through life always wanting things to be different from how they are. Understandably, of course, because we've learnt that the way things are just isn't good enough. It's just not good enough. Needs to be better. Always needs to be better. Show me the person who is sitting around saying, "I'm content with myself and with life, just as they are." Show me those people. I would actually hazard a guess that those people have learnt simple daily contentment through slowing down, simplifying, and coming back to what's real. Living in presence, peace, and satisfaction with the way things are. What I'd like you to realize and identify is this inner conflict, this uneasiness, restlessness, this feeling of things should be different. You know what I'm talking about? If we're not careful, we can spend most of our lives feeling this way. And what a shame that would be, to get to the end of our life and to realize, actually, perhaps things weren't as bad as I thought they were. And maybe I should have appreciated what I had when I had it. Notice all the times that you feel you want to be better in some way. You want to be more like another person. We have these ideals of society presented to us so that we can aspire to be like them. But what can end up happening is that we completely lose sight of our own awesomeness. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, instead of being driven to be like somebody else, that you were completely content to be as you are. Can you imagine that? What if there was actually nothing wrong with you? What if you didn't need to be more this, more that, more anything? What if you were just enough, just right, the way you are? You've been programmed from birth to be dissatisfied with yourself. I don't know about you, but I struggled for decades to improve myself. And let me tell you, it was a struggle. It seems that I couldn't keep anything up for very long. Actually, a lot of the time it felt like driving with the brakes on. Exhausting and self-defeating. And I see so many people doing the same thing, falling into that same trap of believing they're not good enough. Sort of an epidemic, really, isn't it? Now, here's a thought. What if you stopped trying to change yourself? It does go against the grain, doesn't it? And I know that there's going to be some protests arising here along the lines of, are you telling me I shouldn't be improving my health and fitness or learning new things? What's wrong with improving yourself? Actually, no, I'm not saying that at all. Because in that sense, I'm always improving myself. I love learning new things and becoming more efficient at what I do, more organized, simplifying my life, decluttering, always decluttering, finding better ways to cook family meals, that's an ongoing one. And then, of course, there's money management. Oh, and let's not forget, healthy lifestyle. There's lots and lots and lots of ways that we can improve ourselves. But what I'm talking about here is this constant sense of dissatisfaction. Living a somewhat defeated life. The grass always being greener on the other side. Comparing yourself to people who look happier, slimmer, more successful. And ending up perhaps with an attitude of putting up with your lot, or never resting from trying to improve it. That's what I'm talking about. This isn't about giving up and going through life sort of deflated and not bothering with anything. It's not that at all. It's not that. There is another way. Most of us are familiar with either pushing relentlessly, exhausting ourselves, trying to accomplish something, or just sort of feeling fed up and couldn't be bothered really, don't have the energy for it. It's just the way things are, isn't it? Just got to put up with it. But there is another way. Yes, there is another way. A more aligned way. A more beautiful way. We have been programmed from a very young age to be dissatisfied with ourselves. And by identifying this programming, we can actually unlearn and deprogram ourselves. But we need a shift from trying to change ourselves to observing ourselves. When you observe yourself, it's like studying your reactions to certain people and events. But here's the real challenge. You observe yourself without any judgment. It is possible. And don't worry if it takes a while, because we're so used to judging everything. Absolutely everything. So please don't judge yourself for judging. Watch yourself without condemning yourself. Observe your reactions without trying to change your behavior. Yes, without trying to change your behavior, because we've got plenty of that going on these days as well. And that's falling into the trap of struggle and effort again. And the reason we do that is because we just don't know ourselves. We don't realize how beautiful our true nature is. We've become so identified with this mind-made identity, what's referred to as the ego, the false sense of self, that we really believe that's who we are. We're this person, this character with all these faults and shortcomings and so much lack. So of course we want to change so much about ourselves. But what I'm hoping through creating these videos is that week after week you're actually coming to realize that that's not the truth of the matter. That actually who you really are is the most amazing and mysterious light of awareness that's so vast it contains everything that you're experiencing in your human life. Actually, being content with yourself happens very naturally and spontaneously when you realize you're not the person you've always believed yourself to be. You're deeper than that. Deeper, deeper, deeper. Deeper than your thoughts. Deeper than your feelings. Bigger than your story. Higher than your imagination. More wonderful than you could ever believe. It's true. But don't take my word for it. Find out for yourself. You've been programmed from birth to be dissatisfied with yourself. But there's a knowing within each one of us that transcends all the programming and conditioning. And even if we can't get still enough to be sensitive to this, we know very well what it feels like to be driving with the brakes on, don't we? So start in earnest to really observe yourself. Watch yourself as if you're watching another person. Notice every time you feel bothered. Notice all the thoughts that race around in your head. Don't focus on the content of the thinking, but rather the fact that you're thinking and how much time you spend lost in those thoughts. Notice the disturbed energies that rise up whenever you don't like what life is presenting to you. And notice all these things without any need to change yourself. If you can recognize this feeling of dissatisfaction within yourself as you go through your day, you actually free yourself from being at the mercy of it. Relax your efforts of driving with the brakes on and open, just open to the light of awareness. It's always here. You know, the best way to experience true lasting change and transformation is by getting to know your true nature. And pretty much every video on this channel is to help you do that. Can you just imagine learning from a young age, all through school, that there's nothing wrong with you, that you're just perfect the way you are, and to be thankful for having all these experiences of being alive. When you see the programming, the deprogramming begins to happen naturally, organically. This is how we are. When we see with our spiritual eyes and realize things deeply, intuitively, we recognize truth. And with this truth comes a natural realigning of our being, where the things that used to be very stressful no longer bother us very much. And the idea of who we are is simply that, an idea. We know it's not reality. See the programming. That's all you need to do. Trust me. Imagine the peace of not wanting to be anything other than what you are. Imagine the freedom of not feeling that you have to constantly try and improve yourself. Start observing yourself and how you react to the people and things in your life. And do this without judgment or condemnation. When you stop trying to change yourself, you become open to discovering your true nature. This is when everything begins to fall into place in the most beautiful way. As you go deeper into yourself and realize that nothing about you actually needs fixing, you'll naturally experience deep and lasting fulfillment. Ultimately, peace and presence always go together when you make the shift from self-improvement to self-realization. You have been programmed from birth to be dissatisfied with yourself. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. To find out more about my delightful deprogramming approach in my coaching and content creation, please visit my website, alikireddy.com.